Hi, I'm Jeanne Fiorini, and you are in the Tarot Tips. We're going to continue today with our idea of really examining the images on the card in terms of gestures and postures. I called it last time diagrammatic cues or clues about what might be going on in the card. Today we're going to talk about cards with images where people aren't using their sight, where people either are blindfolded, they have their eyes closed, they have their hands in front of their face. What might that mean? What might that tell us about what's going on? What's the message that wants to be conveyed in the card? So with that in mind, let's go to the tarot table and I'll show you a couple examples. We're going to start with this Two of Swords. This is a very enigmatic image, as are sometimes the images which are twos, because they hold a duality. We see that this person is blindfolded. We get the sense, because she's sitting there somewhat powerfully, it takes good strength to hold up your swords like that, that she has put that blindfold on herself. In other words, she is not interested in seeing what's going on externally. You can tell that this is a card of someone who is tuned out, unplugged from the outer world, and they've focused their attention on the internal world, or haven't focused their attention at all anywhere, but certainly they're not interacting. So remember that this is not a good thing or a bad thing. It depends on the situation. Some cards, or some decks, call this card meditation. We also could look at that card and see somebody who is in denial. So those are the two ends of the spectrum there in terms of what this card could potentially mean. But to the point of what we're talking about today, the idea that of a blindfold in the tarot is really about shutting out the input of the outer world, for better or for worse. I don't want to see, I don't want to look, I don't want to communicate. Another sword card. Here the person has their head in their hands, covering their eyes. I don't want to see. I can't deal with all these things that are weighing on my mind. The darkness in the background of that card indicates how small her awareness is right now. There is no light in that card. It's all unknown. It's all uncertain, and that person is overwhelmed by that. So there is no focused attention. There is a loud voice of all these worries and concerns. Certainly that person is in their own head. Let's remember that that's not always a bad thing either. Sometimes when this card comes up in the helper position, it's really asking us to think about, what is your worst fear? What is the worst thing that you think is going to happen if X, Y, and Z were to evolve? So we don't necessarily want to get that card because it's uncomfortable, and it might reflect to us that, yeah, you have a lot of anxiety, you have a lot of worries, some of which make you want to just bury your head in the sand and not perceive, not see, not observe, not have to deal with. Not surprisingly, here's another sword card. Now, here's a case where, these two cards can get confused because there's two people, each card blindfolded. But the Eight of Swords is how our own perceptions, what we think inside our own head, may or may not be true, and is keeping us from progressing, the red being dynamic action, keeps us from progressing and moving forward in a way that we might want to, creatively or just intentionally. My thoughts hold me back. So what am I not seeing? What am I, how am I contained or restrained by my self-limiting perceptions. Again, internal, all of these so internally focused. Hermit card, internally focused. We see a lot of strength in that card. So reminding us that blindfolds and closed eyes don't necessarily mean I'm in denial, or I'm reluctant to see what's true, or I'm shutting myself down. The hermit is the example of strength in introspection. Sometimes in this particular card, it does look like the eyes are closed. You might have a hermit that's looking toward the light. Again, with the hermit, it is about self-reflection. It's about internal dialogue. And of all of the cards in the major arcana and in the tarot as a whole, the hermit tends to be the one that has the starkest exterior, the starkest landscape, the most undeveloped external world, because to the hermit, that's not where the action is. That's not where the important aspects of life that he or she is focusing on exist. The energy, the learning, the knowledge is going to come from the inner world. So oftentimes we see a barren landscape and closed eyes, so that we're not distracted by external events. Similarly with the Temperance card. In this particular version, the eyes are closed. They don't have to be in the deck that you're using. But in this position, as the healing card, as the card that mediates between the Death card on one side, card 13, and the 15, which is the Devil card, this Temperance card sits very powerfully and patiently in that internal space, that unconscious space where new movement, new growth, new development can happen in an embryonic kind of way. So this is not something that needs the glare of outer attention. This is something that almost requires privacy, that requires a secret space inside of ourselves, a place that isn't accessible, maybe even by our conscious mind. So the closed eyes here indicating, okay, I am in my own private world, doing my own healing magic, and I need space for that. Closed eyes, so I'm not interested in what's going on in the external world. I've unplugged, but that's for my own health and healing. And we'll close with the Four of Swords. The follow-up card, or the card that comes after that unhappy Three of Swords that we saw earlier. And here we see, again, this is a card that when it comes up, people don't like the look of it. But it's very similar to these other two, the Hermit and the Temperance, in that this person has had enough. It's like, don't give me any more information. Don't give me any more problems. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to be thinking about it, deciding about it, processing it. I just need to rest. And I like this card so much because here's the Ace of Swords. Here's the three swords that pierced my heart. Here's the sword that can help me find rest. And that would be the sword of truth. Sometimes we need to close our eyes to see the truth. The truth is often internal, inside of our heart, inside of our knowing, in our body somewhere. And we're not going to get the answer by using our sight, our perception, our articulation to figure something out. So pay attention to where you see cards that are withdrawn, that are internally focused. There might be other ones. These were the ones that I chose for our topic today. And pay attention to how that fits with the other cards in the reading. How a period of retreat, reflection, introspection is either hurting or helping me in my life right now. All right. Hopefully helpful thoughts for you. We'll see you next time.